one job and still blew it. Look, the 60s gave us some of the baddest rides ever built. Mustangs, GTOs, Chargers, legendary stuff. But not every car was a winner. Some were weird, some were slow, and some were just plain, what the heck were they thinking, bad. So let's fire up the cringe machine and check out 9 American cars from the 60s that totally missed the mark.
Make sure to subscribe and smash the like button.
Number 9. Let's talk about the 1969 Chevy Kingswood wagon, the car that asks the question, what if we showed to fire-breathing 427 V8 into a family station wagon? Spoiler alert, Chevrolet actually did it. Now, imagine mom picking up the kids from soccer practice in a vehicle that could smoke a Camaro off the line, while hauling groceries, a dog, 3 bikes, and a week's worth of questionable parenting decisions. This beast had 390 horsepower, a curb weight of a small moon, and a gas mileage that made oil executives cheer and environmentalists try. It could tow a house, outrun a Mustang, and fit a Christmas tree in the back all at once. Why did Chevy build it? No one really knows. Maybe someone in the engineering department lost a bet. Or maybe it was a secret GM experiment to see how fast you could get from 0 to, is that thing street legal? It wasn't practical, it wasn't efficient, but man, was it gloriously absurd. Number 8. The 1967 Cadillac Eldorado, the car that looked like it belonged in a Bond film and drove like it belonged on open water. On paper, it was a bold move, a front-wheel drive luxury coupe with sleek knife-edged styling and a giant 429 cubic inch V8 under the hood. It was Detroit daring, a land yacht that promised cutting-edge engineering and Cadillac prestige. Reality check? It handled like a waterbed on roller skates. Sure, front-wheel drive was innovative, but not when you're pushing over 4,500 pounds of luxury steel with enough torque to twist the Earth's rotation. Grip? Barely. Cornering? Bring a compass. Parallel parking? Say a prayer. The design was all drama and sharp lines, like a tuxedo made of chrome. But behind the wheel, let's just say it was more captain of a cruise ship than driver of a performance coupe. Still, it was a style icon, just not a handling hero. Number 7. Enter the first-gen Dodge Charger, a car that looked like a spaceship and drove like a committee decision. At first glance, it had the makings of a winner, a sleek fastback roofline, pop-up headlights, and a roaring V8 lineup under the hood. But open the door and things got weird. The full-length center console, stretching front to back, basically told anyone hoping to squeeze in the back seat, nope, not today. The styling? Let's just say it was ahead of its time, which is a polite way of saying it didn't sell. Buyers didn't know what to make of it. Too sporty for luxury buyers, too heavy for drag racers, too impractical for families. It was the automotive version of a teenager going through an identity crisis. Dodge got the message loud and clear. By 1968, they gave the Charger a full makeover, and that's when the legend was born. Lesson here? The 66 Charger was bold, but sometimes being first just means being first to get it wrong. Number 6. The 1965 AMC Marlin, a car that tried to swim in 2 different oceans and ended up belly up on the beach. So what was the Marlin supposed to be? A sporty fastback? A personal luxury coupe? A muscle car? Even AMC wasn't sure. They just knew the Mustang was hot, and they wanted a slice of the action. So they took their mid-size Rambler Classic, gave it a massive sloping rear roof, and hoped no one would notice. It was basically just weird. That fastback design? Yeah, it was bold, but it also looked like a fish belly from certain angles, hence the nickname, the fish car. Not great when you're trying to sell something cool to 1960s gearheads. Under the hood, it had decent engine options, but nothing to scare a GTO or Mustang. And inside, comfy, but not exactly exciting. It wasn't luxurious enough to compete with the Thunderbirds and not sporty enough to race with the big dogs. Sales? Flatter than a parking lot. AMC only sold around 10,000 in its first year, and that number kept sinking. Number 5. 1964 Studebaker Wagonaire, the wagon that rained on itself. Let's talk about the 1964 Studebaker Wagonaire, the car that asked, what if your station wagon had a sunroof the size of a barn door? Bold idea, right? Too bold, maybe. So here was the pitch, a sliding rear roof panel that let you haul tall stuff, like a refrigerator, a grandfather clock, or maybe your dreams of innovation. Great on paper. The problem? That sliding roof leaked like a screen door on a submarine. Customers were jazzed at first until they realized they didn't need to wash the car. The rain did it for them, from the inside. Studebaker tried to fix it, adding rubber seals and tweaks, but the damage was done. Word got out, and buyers stayed away. After all, nobody wants a wagon that doubles as a mobile bird bath. The Wagonaire flopped hard, and not long after, so did Studebaker's U.S. operations. Number 4. The 1963 Chevrolet Corvair 2nd Gen, when public opinion hit the brakes, also known as that car Ralph Nader absolutely obliterated with a typewriter. See, the Corvair was GM's answer to the growing popularity of compact European-style cars. It had some cool ideas: rear-mounted air-cooled engine, sleek styling, and an independent suspension. Sounds kind of like a poor man's Porsche, right? But then came Ralph Nader, consumer advocate, safety watchdog, and general buzzkill for GM. In his now famous book, Unsafe at Any Speed, Nader painted the Corvair as a rolling lawsuit. His main gripe? The swing axle rear suspension on earlier models made the car unstable, especially in emergency maneuvers. Basically, take a sharp turn too fast and, surprise, your Corvair might suddenly try out for the Olympic gymnastics team. Now, to be fair, the 1963 model was part of the 2nd generation, and many of the worst problems had been addressed by then. But as they say in PR, once the stink's on you, it's hard to wash off. The damage to the Corvair's reputation was permanent, even if the later cars weren't as dangerous. Chevy eventually killed the Corvair in 1969, not because it couldn't be fixed, but because Ralph Nader scared everyone out of the showroom. Moral of the story? Bad press travels faster than a rear-engine compact on bias ply tires. Number 3. We're diving into one of the great "what were they thinking" moments of early 60s Detroit, the 1962 Dodge Dart. Now, Dodge had a problem in the early 60s. A miscommunication, yes, really, led execs to believe Chevrolet was downsizing its full-size cars. So in a panic, Dodge did the same with the Dart. But guess what? Chevy wasn't. So Dodge showed up to the full-size party with a mid-size car wearing a weird suit. The result? A car with awkward proportions, a too short wheelbase, and a front end that looked like it was melting off the fenders. The body lines? Uncoordinated. The stance? confused. It was like someone hit undo too many times in the design studio. And if the styling wasn't enough to make people scratch their heads, the model names didn't help either. Dart 330, Dart 440, Dart Polara. Wait, what is this thing? A muscle car? A family sedan? A spaceship? Public reaction? Somewhere between meh and is that thing okay? Sales were soft, confusion was high, and the Dart was quickly repositioned in Dodge's lineup the following year. The takeaway? Never make a major product decision based on a rumor, especially one about your biggest competitor. Or you might just build a car that looks like it's trying to be three things at once and failing at all of them. Number 2. Let's talk about a car that tried to be the future and kind of ended up stuck in park. The 1961 Ford Thunderbird, aka the Bullet Bird. Now, on paper, this car was the vision of jet-age swagger. Low, long, and sleek like a cruise missile on white walls. It had curves that made 1960s designers drool, and a pointy front end that screamed, "Get out of my way, I'm stylish." So why didn't it soar? Well, turns out aerodynamic looks don't make a car fly. The Bullet Bird was heavy. Not just bring your friend to help push it heavy. We're talking over 4,500 pounds of land yacht. Under the hood, a big V8, sure, but with that much weight, it moved like a cruise ship in molasses. Now, let's talk about that fancy swing-away steering wheel. Sounded futuristic. Slide the wheel aside, make room for your legs. Brilliant! Except it broke. A lot. Drivers quickly learned that their high-tech gadget could leave them stranded, or worse, trying to steer something that felt like a loose shopping cart wheel. In short, the 1961 Thunderbird looked like tomorrow, but drove like yesterday. It was cool to be seen in, parked, but behind the wheel, you needed patience, upper body strength, and a good mechanic. So yes, the 1961 Thunderbird is still a style icon. Just don't ask it to take a sharp corner or survive a winter. Number 1.
This is Valiant, the new one from Chrysler Corporation.
Mini Lecture. 1960 Plymouth Valiant, the alien fish that tried its best. A compact car that Chrysler hoped would swim with the big fish in the new small car pond. Spoiler alert, it kind of flopped around on the beach instead. The late 50s and early 60s were when Detroit realized Americans might want cars smaller than ocean liners. So Chrysler cooked up the Valiant, a practical, affordable compact car. Sounds great, right? But then they styled it. Oh boy. It had a front grille that looked like a chrome jack-o'-lantern on caffeine, exaggerated fender lines and proportions that made it look like a fish that got left in the microwave too long. Some called it futuristic. Most just called it the alien fish. Still, underneath that strange face was a solid little machine, a slant 6 engine that was dependable and surprisingly peppy. It handled well, it was cheap to run, and it actually sold decently. But design-wise, let's just say it looked like it was designed by someone who had just watched a sci-fi movie marathon and said, "Yes, let's build that." Over the years, the Valiant got a visual refresh and earned some respect. But that 1960 launch model, it lives on in automotive history as the car that asked the question, what if your family sedan had the face of a startled robot fish? It had heart, it had purpose, but it definitely had a face only a mother or a Mopar fan could love.